Hello, hello. Welcome to the breakdown of episode 2 of the At a Total Loss podcast. This podcast was with Liz, and she talks about her beautiful baby Harrison, who died at 38 weeks in October of 2021. So what I'm going to do is kind of go over the show notes, I have my notes here and what we talked about on there that was significant, and kind of break it down a little bit, provide some more information, and kind of give my take on it from my own experiences. If you guys listen, Liz is great. Liz was the first person. Well, no, she was probably the third person that I connected with after Brody's death. So as you know, right after he died, I scrambled and was trying to just find women who had already been through this so that I can not only kind of be like, what the hell just happened? I mean, think about it right after. So Brody, I was told Brody died at like 12:30 on January 17th. He was born at like 12:30, January 18th, 24 hours later. I went into the ICU. All this crazy stuff happened. So I get home and I'm just kind of like, what the heck was that? His death came out of nowhere. So, and even in the hospital, they were all like, oh, this was just so rare. This never happens. And there's no reason. And I bought it. So I kind of also am like a super linear, I'm a very time-based person. So I eat, sleep, and breathe according to the clock and the calendar. So I wanted to kind of have an idea of what am I feeling right now? Is this normal that I feel so horrible? When will I be able to breathe a little bit? What's happening? So you get it. So Liz was like the third person that I connected with, and I met her through another lost mom here in Atlanta. And Liz and I gave birth at the same hospital, Northside Hospital in Sandy Springs, Georgia, which is like number 2 for births in the country. I think that's still the stat. I don't know. Don't quote me, but it's a big hospital for births and they have a significant amount. So to meet another one at the same hospital was like, oh my gosh, this is more common than I think potentially. And I really liked Liz's vibe. She has this way of just kind of radiating positivity, and she has a wicked sense of humor. So we just clicked. So one of the first things Liz said in the episode was that she's still herself and that the death didn't change who she is. Not 100% at least. So she kept her same Instagram page. She just kept saying, I'm me still, with this loss is just part of who I am now. And I will say I really dig her kind of perception or the way that she's looking at it. To say that I'm completely altered, no. Significantly altered, yeah. I mean, I'd say so. You don't look at things the same way anymore. I don't necessarily believe the same things that I believed before. I'm leery of healthcare and providers, and I'm also just aware that really, really bad things can happen to anybody at any time. Sorry, that's it, Did I think this was going to happen? No. Did I think it was a possibility? No. You don't think like that, but it happened. So, it just kind of skews, you get this feeling that anything can happen at any time. So to say that I'm 100% different, no, I don't think so. How I am in my relationships, I am a little different, I would say. My viewpoint, yeah, on things, definitely. My relationship with God, definitely. I'm considered a mother. I consider myself a mother. I do have a child. He's in heaven, but I gave birth to him. I feel in more ways like a woman and an adult and a person who's been through it. So my lens is definitely skewed. I don't know what you guys think about that. I mean, to just say, hey, treat me exactly how you used to. I don't know if I could do that. If you know my story, I think that there's just some slightly different things. You're going to have to leave that part out or not do this or not do that, at least for the, first 12 months to 18 months after loss. But my sense of humor is still pretty much there, and I still like to have a good time, and I still have the same interests. It's changed a little bit, Will all that come back? I don't know. I don't know, but we talk about this on the podcast. So I'm hopeful that somebody who's been so removed, I think there's going to be parts of you that have changed significantly and will never come back. But I think that most things about you, and I'm talking like I haven't eaten a strawberry since Brody's death. I ate them the entire pregnancy, love them, and I can't eat them. Does that, life fault? I mean, yeah, it's not a big deal, but music. I used to listen to music all day. I don't listen to it anymore. Podcasts are where it's at. I don't listen to my own though. Well, I kind of do. So, the jury's out on what comes back. I don't know. I'm only 7.5 months out. We'll see. Maybe you guys can tell me if that stuff does come back. Liz, was on a mission to say, like, I feel like shit. What can I do to make myself feel better? And there's nothing wrong with that. And I really kind of dig that mentality. Yes, I do think that we should like really sit in our grief when we need to and honor our loved ones, even though it hurts so bad to do that. But then I'm like, okay, how do we get out of this? Let's go. Because the state of complete sorrow and spiral and dark is not a healthy state if it's 100% of the time. You have to find your balance. So she was on a mission to like, what's going to make me feel better? And I like that. And like, we even have like gone out or like gotten dinner or gotten a drink or like gotten a coffee or something. Like if we're feeling like we're having a griefy day, like, hey dude, can you meet me? Trying to make ourselves feel better. And I think that's okay. And at first you feel really guilty. I know that. I think like right after Brody's death, I was kind of like, I really need to sit in this grief and I really need to be miserable in order to honor him. And when I first started to like smile again or enjoy a glass of wine again or watch a movie again or like do something that kind of sparked some joy, then I felt really guilty. I did. I felt like that I'm not honoring him, that it's like, I'm okay and I'm over it. And that's not it. I know if you're in the trenches, which I call the first 3 months after loss, then you're going to be like, I'll never smile again. I'll never, be able to do any of that. But it's okay to try to make yourself feel better. It's okay to try to learn how to pray again or go to therapy again or find little moments of joy, like enjoying a cup of coffee or going on a walk that makes you feel better. It's okay to seek those things out. So don't feel guilty doing that. And I really dug that about Liz, because in the beginning, she was only like 3 months ahead of me in her loss, but by the time I met her, she was 6 months out, I think. So I think that she kind of like gave me the okay. And I really dug that. Liz was talked about going on a trip. And I'm a big advocate for going on a trip. However, what I learned was you shouldn't go on a trip to a place that is very familiar to you or that you've been pregnant. I am from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and ended up taking a trip back to Florida, to Fort Lauderdale, seeing all the things I grew up with. Last time I was there, I was pregnant, very pregnant. Wasn't good. It wasn't good. I mean, I loved the efforts of the family, but it was bad. So my recommendation is to go somewhere you've never been and make a new memory, and maybe a crappy memory because you're so sad and you're so much grief, but it's at least going to take your mind and like not go back to a place. And it's pretty detrimental, I think. Plus I came back from the trip. I think we took the trip like the day after my 6-week appointment. I got the go from my doctor that I was okay to travel and to like work out again and do all the things. And then when I came back, it was like a 2-week trip. I was like really, really, what's the word? Disconnected. I mean, I didn't cry, you guys. There was like a week I didn't cry. What's that? So I had a therapist at the time, and we'll talk about that another time, but I was like, what's going on? And she was like, don't worry, your tears will come back. So it was almost like I left and I came back and it felt like a dream. In the meantime, I had some people really piss me off. I had some friends do some really insensitive things, but not on purpose. It just, things were said and things were done by family and friends that I was like, that just stung. And me thinking, they should know, because so many friends and family were doing it right. And then so many were just like, not even trying to figure, like to try to help. And so I directed my attention to them. Like my anger and my feelings went to them and not Brody, not his death. So I kind of like disconnected from it, but I came back. It was like a couple weeks and then I was like hysterically crying again, so just be careful of that. If you ever like feel like super disconnected where you just can't even like, you're not affected by it, it's probably a phase and it'll be back, but yeah, take the trip if you can. I think that's good, especially if this is your first child. Birdie is my first child and it's Liz's too. And the deafening silence of the house is what really killed us. I mean, the nursery, the toys, the things, and like all the things from, we had a baby shower right before I found out Brody died. All of the gifts were still coming in. Things that we had ordered, like his rocking chair had been back ordered. Those were showing up. Just GTFO, go somewhere new and kind of like stay busy, stay active, stay stimulated, but also chill and relax. It depends on what works for you. I like my brain to always be, but at that point when you're like just so completely devastated, it just helps to get out of the house. Oh gosh, Liz talked about the moment you find out. Guys, this is by far, and I have a lot of conversations, as you know, with lost moms all around the world. I think I can say that this is by far the worst moment for all of us. The words, "there's no heartbeat," rips your heart out and the floor disappears underneath you. For me, the moment was so horrific that I sought out kind of a EMDR, ART, rapid eye motion, desensitization kind of therapy, physical therapy, science-based therapy to try to help cope with that moment. Honestly, that day for me was rough. I woke up, I said, I'm not feeling great. I started working. My cousin called and FaceTimed me and I said to her, I was like, I'm not great. I'm going to call the office. And I called my doctor and they said to come in. They didn't tell me to go to the ER. They told me to come in. And I sat in the waiting room, of course. They strapped, and then finally I went back and they strapped a NFT, NPT, one of those. Guys, this is grief brain. I can't remember, but they strapped one of the tests on me, the non-invasive ones, or the very simple one, the strap around my belly. And they were like, oh, it's broken, it's not working. And I was like, okay. So I went and I had an ultrasound and the tech looked at me because I was just there 2 days before. And she was like, what are you doing here? Like, you're just here. And she's like, okay, come on, we'll just check. And she told me, and I now know what it's like to leave your body, to physically feel your spirit, your everything just leave. They had to have a team come in and hold me down because I was physically reacting by screaming and yelling and kicking and clawing. And when you have that level of pain, your body doesn't know how to handle it. It was like I was malfunctioning, to be honest. And then at one point I just left my body and I went into a shock. But those words will ring in our ears forever. Nobody wants to hear them and nobody even expects them. And that's the part. I not 1 second thought that this was possible, that he would just die in my belly. I thought this was the safest place for him to be, that my body knew what to do. And then she said the words. And I'm able to keep this together because of this amount of work I've done. But this still is something where if we really, really go in there for like, I've talked to women who are years and years and years removed, still bring tears and still cause tremendous heartbreak. And that's normal. It probably always will. Yeah, she went into robot mode. I did too. The fact that we didn't have any sonograms from week 20 to 36, 37, 38 weeks. Like, that's crazy. I mean, Liz's situation, she had no amniotic fluid. If she had had a sonogram at least every 2 weeks or every week, they would have seen that there was a lack of fluid. But how else could you have known without checking like that? And it's just almost ridiculous. And then I think we've had a lot of conversations about this. We're trying to get some some bills passed to try to improve our prenatal care, because I think it's coming down to like insurance and things like that. And it's really something that needs to change. And if you were with like maternal fetal medicine or a high risk specialist or a perinatal specialist or something, like you should be getting multiples throughout the pregnancy, even way into the third, which is where detrimental things really truly happen as well. So that's something that's really quite hard to wrap our brains around, that if there was simply an ultrasound done, that Harrison could have been saved. And for my Brody, yeah, I believe that if there had been more of an invasive, well, he had an ultrasound. So mine is a little bit different. I think that if I was trained a little bit more on noticing kicks and decrease in movement, and that's something that she also talked about, that kick counts are huge. Kick counts are huge. And like, I was big on that. I knew if I counted to 10 kicks in an hour, he's good to go. And when I wouldn't feel him, I would eat a strawberry or a peppermint patty or something, and he would move. And I even asked midwives, I'm like, he goes really quiet sometimes. And she's like, well, if it's like 4 or 5 hours, and like definitely come in, but you know, other than that, he's probably fine. So I didn't really think that anything of it. I never even heard of kick counts, not even like people around me. The problem is that it's not really about the kick counts. It's the amount of kicks and it's the characteristics of the kicks that you have to pay attention to, because if they are super, super, super strong and they're frequent and there's 100 kicks and it drops down to 10 or they become less strong, that's a problem. And that's what happened with me. When I felt him not as powerful, every single person around me, doctors included, apps, articles, best friends, family, told me that was normal because he runs out of space as the baby gets bigger and you're not going to feel punches, you're going to feel rolls. That's not accurate. And I wish that I had been told about that. Liz was not told about that at all. If maybe she had been told, she would have counted kicks and seen it decrease and gone in. But there's who's to say? We just know that this was preventable, and that's the most heartbreaking part of it. There's a lot of resources that you can see, and I tag them in the I can tag them in this episode in the caption, so you guys can see some resources on Instagram and some links to places if you want to get involved with that sort of raising awareness of the kick counts, and also just, you know, sending it to other people who may need to see it. If it's too late for you, I'm so sorry. It's too late for me. But moving forward with hopefully other pregnancies, you know, I'll know now. And it just sucks that I didn't know then. I know. It's pretty maddening if we let ourselves go there, for sure. I feel you. Let's jump back. Liz talked about the autopsy of Harrison. You guys know, like in the hospital, you kind of, you just don't know what the hell's going on. You don't know what side's up, down. I was pumped full of medicine. I nearly died. I don't know what was going on. Let alone the fact that you gave birth. Your body thinks you have a baby. Your brain knows it's dead, but your heart doesn't. And all these things are happening biologically and whatever. And you have to make decisions. What do you want to do with this body? What? Somehow, some way, I don't know what I was doing, but I said, yes, I want an autopsy. And I know that's controversial. I know that. And the idea that horrifies me. And I really try not to think about it, but I needed to know what happened to him. I needed to know how a healthy, beautiful baby who was absolutely perfect died. So I got the autopsy and I got placenta pathology. Liz, got tests and didn't find anything. The autopsy for Brody was perfect. No infection, no bleeding, no signs of any issues with his lungs, his organs, his heart, or his brain. But I mean, the placenta, though, that's another thing. That one came back with some information, and we do talk about this in another episode. So getting the tests is really up to you. If you didn't get any, don't feel bad. So many decide not to do that. And, sometimes it's better. It depends on who you are. Finding out there was nothing wrong with him was better for me because my brain was literally like, I killed him. I killed him. I killed him. I'm sorry. It's my fault. I ate something. I drank something. I did something. I laid some way. I worked out too hard or da-da-da-da-da-da. Was it the time that I accidentally hit the countertop with my belly? Like, the answer is none of that caused your baby's death. And I just needed to know because in my brain was like freaking out. I'm a cause and effect person. If I do this, I get this result. And that didn't happen. I was so cautious. So I got the tests. I'm happy I got the placenta pathology. Could I have done without the autopsy? Probably, but I do know that it ruled out every other concern that I had, especially genetic, because moving forward now, after having bajillion tests, I can honestly say that it wasn't anything genetically wrong that I have to be aware of in the future, like husband or father and mother, like, and then they have the same thing. And then that thing comes down and you guys know what I mean? So I ruled that out with the autopsy. And then she talks about, oh God, the blame. I was just saying that. The blame, guys, the blame. And I know what you're doing. And I do it all the time. I believe like the first something crazy, like 4 months, 5 months, every single day going over what I did, what I ate. Was it me? I could have gone in. I should have had a different doctor. I should have had more questions. I should have yelled more. I should have da-da-da-da-da, like all these things. And like at the end of the day, I mean, if you go and you put, stillbirth is 1 out of 160 births. It's a big ass number. If you took 160 people and put them in the room and they all have had a child, living child, everybody, okay, you and 159, everybody probably would have said the same things. They didn't know what kick counts were. They didn't notice. They never felt the baby. They drank wine occasionally. They did crazy things pregnant. You said you're not supposed to be warm or hot, and they did, 100-degree yoga all the time. And, they were stressed out or they slept on their stomach. I don't know. I'm making things up now, but I'm just saying if they all did had all the same issues that you had and that your complaints, but they still had a healthy baby and a living baby, and at the end of the day, like maybe there really was nothing that you could do. You're not alone in feeling like this was your fault, but it wasn't. You did everything that you could to keep your baby safe. That's our number one priority. You did everything. You did everything you knew how to do. And if you didn't know, I'm sure you looked it up or you asked somebody, and it wasn't even like you were doing anything crazy. After the tech told me that Brody died, she said, and I quote, "You could have smoked crack and this would not have happened." I should have smoked the crack. No, I'm just kidding. But what? Like, it's that big of a outside of your hands. It's not something you did. Okay. So the blame game though, guys, I gotta be honest. I still say, shit, I should have done something different. And that's normal. You're probably going to do that forever. But the more we talk about it, the more we start to realize that at the end of it, you just have to say, I did my best. I absolutely did my best. All right. Let's keep going. It's a lot. I know. I think, I will say, finding out what caused or was associated with Brody's death did kind of take a weight off of me because it was a significant amount of time that I thought that I caused it, like I said. So my hunt for answers and my hunt for tests and all this stuff helped me. And it's never too late. Like if you're watching this and you're like, shit, I want to test. There's ways you can do that if you still have things like the placenta slides and things like that. And I can answer that for you if you want direction on that. But it just helped me release blame a little bit on the medical side. Now the decisions were my problem. Like I should have pushed harder. I should have said something. I should have yelled louder, should have gone and gotten a second opinion. I should have assumed I was high risk. But when I go back and I dissect all the information, like how could I have known? How the hell could I have known? And same with you. How could you have known? And I can't harp on that enough, because I know it's called shoulding all over yourself. You're shoulding. I should have done this. I should have done that. I should have seen. I should have known. No, you did everything. And there's people in like other countries, in other places in the world, who have absolutely no resources like we do, and have perfectly healthy children. You did everything you could. Lack of testing, we talked about that. We need more tests, a lot more tests. There's a lot of movements out there, like I said, trying to get that passed. And then we talk about Liz's mission. And a lot of mothers in the space feel like they're kind of called or drawn to do something. And if you're not, absolutely fine, just talking about your baby or just talking to them directly, even if it's not out loud or anybody else, you're still honoring them. But some of us feel like a certain mission, and Liz's is to kind of help the workplace. If you listen to the episode, I hope that you did. She's talking about FMLA, and in the maternity leave and the bereavement leave and all of those things that are happening, how she was not given the same treatment as somebody who was on maternity leave. She was considered disability. And so she wasn't eligible for bonuses or raises or promotions or things like that. She didn't get enough time off. So she is working to rewrite it. And she works for a rather very large company. And she's trying to look at the legislation, or looking at the wording, so to speak, where she can get that change to help women and even fathers who need that bereavement leave and don't need to return to work 3 days after your stillbirth, and just have the right to have the same treatment, not special, but the same treatment as somebody who gets maternity leave. And I believe her work even said, this is saved for women so they can bond with their children, their babies. And no, when your baby dies, you need that time to grieve. You need that time to get your stuff together. So that is such a huge topic. It's happening in states across the country. And I think it's really important. She also talks about going back into work and how kind of stressful that was. On my Instagram, you can also, if you go to it, at the Catherine Lazar, Liz and I did an Instagram live, and she talks a little bit more about that. It's in my reels. She going back and how she handled it. If she wrote an email beforehand, or like if I don't think she did actually. She just kind of showed up and told people, or they had already known, and kind of just steered the conversation on however she wanted to go. She wanted to go in and say, my baby died. His name's Harrison. I'm going to talk about him forever. Not okay, but I'm here, and I don't want you guys to treat me any differently. That was it. That worked for her. Your girl doesn't have an office to go to. I'm a contract recruiter. I run my own company, and I work remote all over the world. So I don't need to go into an office. And I will tell you, I didn't tell anybody. Nobody even knew I was pregnant. Why? I was on Zoom all the time. No one ever met me in person. Now, there was one contract that I had, and I was meeting with them every day. And I told them I was pregnant like right before, because I needed like some time off when Brody would be born. And so they knew. I told them that he had died. But I didn't have any leave or anything. So my expertise is not in that field. I just have a ton of conversations with people about it. So, that is something you can reach out to Liz about. I would absolutely, if you have questions about going back to work, or how to kind of help rewrite any sort of protocols that they have when it comes to bereavement leave or stillbirth leave, even miscarriage leave. So that's a conversation that needs to be had. And definitely you can have that with her. And I've tagged her in the caption so you guys can find her on Instagram and just shoot her a DM. Yeah, so we kind of, this is an interesting, when you first start to come out after loss, when you emerge from the depths of hell and start to see people again, you will realize, if you haven't already, that you're the driver of the ship. Nobody really wants to talk about it. Not many people feel compelled to say something to your face. If so then you kind of have to gauge how you want it to go. You can blurt it out and then quickly change the subject, or you could just simply say, Brody died, or my child died, and you're not going to upset me by talking about him. I'd love to talk about him. Let me know if you have any questions, but I'm grieving. This is a tough time, but I'll be okay. And I appreciate your support. don't feel bad about making anybody uncomfortable if you need to let them know that your child died. I mean, it's your child. If they lived it, they'd certainly know about it. They are going to be awkward and uncomfortable for like 5 seconds. You are going to be awkward and uncomfortable for the rest of your life. So don't feel too bad about people's reactions when you tell them. Now, where it starts to get a little strange is when they actually don't say anything to you, don't send any condolences, don't even acknowledge you had a child, that they're just like so uncomfortable and they don't know what to do or say. That's where we have to have some grace on people. We have to, now there's one thing to be like completely insensitive and inappropriate and say terrible things. And I get that. And they should not get a pass by any means, no matter what it is they're talking about. But you just have to make sure that you are showing grace if you'd like grace in return, and opening the conversation if you'd like to, whether it's Zoom, you could do a Zoom, an email, a text, or in person. That's completely up to you. Workplace is one thing. If you want to keep it super professional, do not feel guilty if you don't feel like grief vomiting at work. I'm serious. And I may get hate for that, but if you don't feel like going into work and hearing about it and getting the weird looks, own your child. Yes, I have a child and they died. But if you don't feel like really going into all of it, you don't have to do that. If you do, great, more power to you, go for it. But if you don't want to, you're not doing a disservice to your child. Absolutely not. Do not feel guilty for that. I had someone tell me recently that sometimes grief is inconvenient. And I stand by that. Sometimes you just can't lose your shit. You have to keep it together. And if you're not ready to talk about it because it's going to be too much, then you don't have to. Just be easy on yourself, especially going back into the workplace and emerging into society. Doesn't it feel like you just want like everyone to know though? If you feel like I wanted to wear like my son died on my t-shirt and then like his name is Brody on the back, I wanted everyone to know. It doesn't really work like that though. So, grief vomiting all over the checkout person at Target or Publix is just too much. Like I would actually just like find a place that had self-checkout and do that, because I wanted to tell them like, hi, how are you? I'm like, I'm not good. Thanks for asking though. Do whatever you need to do. Merging back into the world is so interesting because you're looking at all these happy people and you're like, there's no way these people will ever know how I feel. And you're looking around like, I hate that person. I hate that person. They are ignorant to how bad this is. And I bet they've never lost before. And I hate them for not knowing how this feels. It's a weird feeling. I'm not proud that I felt that way for so long. And sometimes I do. Sometimes I still do, especially in situations where people have a baby that would be Brody's age. And you're okay to feeling like that. It's totally normal. And we're not, I say normal, but for us, yeah, that's normal. Our new normal, basically. Liz kind of put people on the spot. Like anytime somebody was dramatic, or like she says that there was a coworker that had like a big trauma or tragedy, and she's like, wait till you have a real tragedy. And like, he shut up quickly, but that's up to you. At some point it could be a ha ha ha, like, whoo. But when someone who has not experienced loss laughs at your loss or like with you, it's not, I don't think it goes well. That's completely up to you. Yeah. So calling people out is not comfortable. I know that she kind of wished she hadn't done that. So just, take a beat, take a pause. If somebody needs to be put in their place because of something completely inappropriate, then that's a different story. If someone's just like living and saying ridiculous things just because that's what humans do and exaggerations, it's up to you if you want to call it out. It really is. But just know the repercussions of it. Choose how you're going to handle this grief. Now, in the beginning, you are not going to know how to handle it. You're just not. Your brain is actually going through trauma, and we talk about this later. So the wiring of it is different. Right and wrong and up and down and yes and no and good and bad don't make any sense. So go easy on yourself. Understand that you may be talking a certain way and that you may, like, I think someone said to me basically was like, you're not really going to know what to do or say. Just make sure, because this is all temporary and you will be different in a year or so from now, just from healing from trauma brain. So try not to do anything that's detrimental. That's it. That's so simple. Did I want to tell some people to jump off a bridge? Yes. Do I want them to jump off the bridge now? No. Am I happy I didn't tell him to jump off a bridge? Yeah. Some of them, no. Yeah, some of them needed to be told. But I'm talking about majority of people just literally trying to like, just making a small mistake or just be around you. So that's the whole thing. That's my spiel on that. And again, we're all different. But my advice is try not to do anything detrimental while your brain is trying to make sense of what's going on. And I think that goes for a lot of things, trauma, especially trauma and PTSD. We talk about things that are said, like, I can't imagine. This is a big trigger for this space. I gotta be honest. It is a little annoying. I can't imagine. Well, close your eyes and then imagine you are in a horrific amount of pain and you have to push a baby out, and that baby comes into the world silent, and you're holding the baby. It's not breathing, it's not crying, and it's not looking at you. Now open your eyes. I mean, if you want to go into it and make them do that, great. But just know, I can't imagine is people's just blanket cover of condolence, just like, sorry for your loss. Like, it's just them trying to say something, anything to show that they feel bad. And I don't hate people for it. Can they do better? Yeah. Do they want to do better? Depends on who it is. Do you feel like you should correct them? No. Not everybody, or you'd be correcting everybody. Close friends and family, honestly, I think that maybe if they said it enough, you could be like, this is really kind of bothering me, if you want a future relationship with them. But just be easy again on people. I mean, they don't know. And like, if I fired rounds at everybody who said something so stupid and annoying, I would have nobody right now. And you are going to be very sensitive, especially fresh out the gate of loss. And honestly, though, I'm about to enter into a new time. This is like the holidays, and I'm already still having to like correct people about things, and like, oh, why aren't you looking forward to Christmas? Why do you think? Did we forget? So just know that no one's perfect. You're certainly not. I'm not. Have some grace and pick and choose which phrases really myth, like really, my line is if they insinuate Brody doesn't exist. Like if they act like Brody didn't happen, then I lose it. Yeah, because my son exists. He's in heaven and he'll be around forever. He's my first child. He'll be in every picture. He'll be talked about forever. So anybody who insinuates he doesn't exist and that I'm not a mother, that one has to be corrected. But that's just me. That's just me. You can say ridiculous things, and if I don't care about you, I'm not going to fight with you, But yeah, Liz also was very clean in her pregnancy. She was really trying not to do medications and doing like a lot of things that would be detrimental. So it's like kind of a slap in our face that like we did everything right. And then this happens, and it's just a testament to like, I don't know if any of you are pregnant after loss. I'm trying to be. It's just, I have no idea how I'm going to handle the next pregnancy. Will I be a psycho? I don't know. Will I be a bigger psycho than I was before? Will I not care at all? I mean, I'm not going to go and like do crazy things like shrooms. I'm pregnant. I don't know. Like, I'm not going to go roller coasting and roller coasters and jump out of planes. But like, will I lose sleep over accidentally eating a piece of lunch meat? Probably not. I don't know. We'll see. Stay tuned, because we do talk about PAL, pregnancy after loss, a lot in these episodes. Liz also had a baptism, and they had a nurse that helped them, which is so important. So if you are in the healthcare, if you are a healthcare provider or you are a nurse, just know your decisions that you make in the hospital for people like us are so noticed and so important and vital to our experiences. I had a nurse who was great. She was just so attentive, and she helped so much. And she tried to get my family in. She tried to do a whole bunch of things. And I was so thankful for her because my experience would have been so much different if she didn't do the things that she did and really kind of broke rules. So if you are a nurse, just know that when we come in, knowing our child is already dead inside of us, we're scared. We have no idea what's going on. Nobody has told us what to do. We don't even understand what's happening. Your presence is the one that we have the most. You're checking in on us. You're making sure we're getting the proper medications. You come when we ring the buzzer. Just know that you're so special to us. And it's important that you show compassion and care and empathy, because this is the most horrific day of our lives. And you'll go on to have other patients, most likely even on the same floor that day. But it's so important to show compassion for us, because I hate to tell you this, a lot of doctors don't. So to the nurses out there who have been there for all of us, thank you. And I bet you some of you lost moms can probably remember your nurses. And if they were good or bad, it sticks with us, because the day is the most horrendous day of our lives. So even the little bit of glimpse of light and beauty is so important. So thank you for those who are there for us. And if you have not experienced this yet, and I'm so sorry, you probably will if you are in labor delivery nurse, because their stillbirths are not stopping anytime soon. I just know how important it is to us that you're there. Liz talks about weird shit that we do. She carries her bear around, and it's Harrison, essentially. It just represents him. And I've heard of some women like wearing them in the harness, or some women bringing them to trips and like putting them in the car and the seat, or like in the stroller. Guys, just know, like, do whatever you want. I think I joked on there's like a baby that kind of looks like the child, and it like weighs the same and feels like, if that works for you, it works for you. Hey, we can be weird. We're allowed to. I had another podcast this past weekend, and she was like, we get a pass. We do. And do what you need to do to heal, and do what you need to do. And I say heal in the most general of terms, because you will not be fully healed from the death of your child. You always have something, some wound that's reopened and a hole in your heart at some point. But the healing aspect is really just forgiving yourself and trying to move forward and embracing the good. To me, that's healing. And forgiving yourself and releasing the blame. So when I say healing, that's what I mean. Yeah, do weird shit. Do it. Do whatever makes you feel good. I don't care. Gosh, I'd love to hear about it. What's some weird stuff you guys do? Representing your baby. I just got a Molly bear, or I ordered it. I don't know if you guys have one. It like weighs the same weight. Birdie was 5 pounds, 8 ounces. And I like put in there like what I want it to look like. I'll do like I'll bring it on as soon as I get it. I have no idea what it looks like. They design it, which is pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to having that kind of just a representation. He has a little wolf. Like if you go to my Instagram, you'll see the picture of my little family, my husband, and I'm holding Brody, and he's got a little wolf. And that little wolf is like kind of, I think it's like his. So I've always like, I don't really bring it around that many places. First of all, I'm afraid to lose it or get it messy, because I'm a messy person. But that's his. So I don't love taking it from him. Well, it sits with his ashes. So like, I'm looking forward to getting a bear that kind of like represents him, because the holidays are coming up. We're going to want to take a family photo, and I'd love to have the bear in the photo. And there's nothing wrong with those things. I know one of my friends, her daughter plays with the bunny and brings it everywhere. And it's like, Brody's always there. Her son's name is Brody too. You'll hear from Sarah. She's episode 3. It's awesome. It's a great one. And then Liz leaves us with a quote. She says, let your emotions ride, experience the highs and experience the lows. Don't feel like you can't not write it out. It's going to be okay. And I understand what she's saying. She's saying that you're going to experience horrific moments. You're going to experience good moments. Just make your way in between those moments. Try to get through it. You will write it out. And by write it out means get through them to a point where you're okay and you can function. This is for those who are right deep in the trenches, those 3 months after loss, even up to 4, 5, 6 months after loss. It gets better. You just have to write it out, and know that if you write it out, there is light at some point. If none of this makes any sense, you're just probably so new And that's okay. This is a journey and it takes time. So those are Liz's words. If you haven't listened to the podcast yet, please make sure you do so. You can listen here on my YouTube channel, or you can go to Spotify, Amazon, Apple, and Google Music. So it's available there. You can also, again, like I said, listen to it, just the audio. I don't have any video. So make sure you check out Liz's episode if you didn't. If there's something in her episode I didn't address, feel free to comment and I'll try to respond to you on that. You can find me on Instagram at The Catherine Lazar, Facebook at The Catherine Lazar, and my email is catherinelazar@gmail.com. Make sure to subscribe so that you can get notified when I have more drops of these breakdowns and when I have new podcasts loaded. And make sure you like, share, and comment. I'd love to connect with you and hear your thoughts on Liz's episode. If you have any questions about those things that we talked about, and share with our community, because you never know who needs to hear this. We're not alone in this, you guys. I'm here for you. Lost moms, this is it. We're in this together. I'm sorry you're here, but I'm happy that we've connected. Until next time, guys, please take care of yourselves.